Thank you for auditing Professor Sky's Record Review, the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor so dedicated to doing 3 episodes a week that I'm recording in my basement at night. Now, I'm going to be talking to you about an album that I find quite interesting by AG Club, F Your Expectations, Part 1. It's good enough that I will be probably reviewing Part 2. But the funny thing is, every week I look at I try to figure out what am I going to review, and I go through, and on Tidal there's this long list of all the new albums that come out. If you don't pay attention, you don't notice. There's like hundreds of albums come out every week. And just for fun, I will sometimes go to like the very bottom of the list and just see like what's there. And it happened to be that this album was the second to last album of all the albums that were released. And I don't quite know why, because this is a very interesting, charming, and very forward-thinking project, which I guess I might call a hip-hop project. It's hard for me to even know what to call it. I listen to a lot of music, and I am an old man. I'm in my 40s. And you'd think that all new music would make me feel old, but that's really not the case. Even things that are like 100 gecs that are really not for me and not for my generation, you'd think that that's the stuff that would make me feel old, but not really. Like, I understand that sort of intentionally abrasive, kind of punk aesthetic. But artists like AG Club truly make me feel old. And it's not that their music is particularly challenging, it's they have something which I think you could only call sort of Zoomer positivity. I don't know what. I don't like going too much into detail with generations, but this music is, first of all, it's so of its time that it's completely genreless. It's pop, it's hip hop, it's like rap without being rap all at the same time. But the whole thing is just so drenched in this kind of positivity of youth, this brightness. It's a collective. It's a group of 8 different people with 3 rappers or 2 singers, 2 rappers and 1 singer, and they do all these things together. And they're from a little town outside of in the Bay Area that very few people have heard of. The whole thing has this feeling that's just so bright-eyed, so bushy-tailed, that it makes me feel like, oh, look at these young whippersnappers. They seem to be excited about what they're doing. But I must say that this album that they've made is really good. I think in a lot of ways people might be comparing them to Brockhampton, just because like Brockhampton there's sort of a lot of people, a few people who are actually the public face making the music, but there's a lot of people in the group, and there is a kind of a sort of a boy band feel to them. But I actually would compare them a little bit more to a group which I like considerably more than Brockhampton, Injury Reserve, which is another one of these avant-garde-ish hip-hop acts. Because the thing is, I cover a lot of stuff about underground and indie hip-hop, but this is not that. Like, Brockhampton is not the same thing as Arm & Hammer, right? Injury Reserve is not the same thing as Griselda. If there's one thing this channel is about, it's about the vitality and the vibrance and the variations within the hip-hop genre, and nothing is a better example of that than this album. They describe themselves, when you read what they say about themselves, as being genreless. They talk about how they all contribute, how they all do everything together, they make their videos together, they try to put everything out together. And the one sort of unifying theme throughout this entire album is this one line they repeat a few times about jumping off the porch. That appears to be their goal in life, is to jump off the porch. I'm telling you. You know what I mean about youthful, like optimism and brightness? Like, yeah, you go jump off the porch. Me, I'm going to sit on the porch drinking Country Time lemonade and yelling at dogs, right? Apparently, AG in AG Club stands for avant-garde. I don't know if they quite earn it. I mean, their production is quite interesting. It's always developed. They do lots of interesting things throughout, as I will explain. But it does seem as though it is this real idea of a collective. The music, I would say, is mostly kind of an old school, not quite old school, but it feels very West Coast, very bass heavy, nice kind of bounce to it. I did a very small amount of research before starting the video. It turns out that the main rapper has a tattoo of Lauryn Hill on his hand. And I'm not a big fan of tattoos, but I'm going to officially declare that my favorite tattoo of all time. That's a really good tattoo. So you might be curious, what does this band sound like, Why is it so hot in my basement? Why do I look like, why does this look like a hostage video? They've got me in the basement. So my homework I'm going to give you is to listen to their best song on the album, a song I absolutely love. One of my favorite tracks of the year, Columbia. I'm going to put it up here. It's produced by the band themselves. Some tracks on this album are produced by other people. This is by them. This has a great example of both the two main rappers, their different sounds. This amazingly sparse beat with this awesome siren. It's like a siren, it's like a horn. One thing they're able to do in the production all the way throughout this album is vary between very sparse and very full sounds. And they usually get that full sound by having multiple vocalists or the same vocalist at different ranges. And then just listen to this song and listen to how they're able to go from so sparse to so full. There's another part of this, which it turns out there's a sample of Oof, which comes from a video game called Roblox. I don't know about Roblox. I've never played Roblox. I did read in an interview that apparently the entire band is addicted to the game of Minecraft. I do know Minecraft. I've played a lot of Minecraft. And this is just a part of, I think, this whole little theory I'm developing of this band as being like the face of Zoomer hip-hop. Because Minecraft itself, in my opinion, is evidence why people are getting smarter. Why kids today are smarter than I was. Because I was not smart enough to play a game as smart as Minecraft when I was a teenager. I was playing Mortal Kombat 3. Toasty! You know, like killing each other and all that. I wasn't creating all these magical worlds. So, you know, maybe, I don't know if I'm going to say these guys are the Minecraft of hip-hop, but I do think there's an interesting overlap. And apparently this sample is from the game Roblox, which is like, it's like Minecraft, but not as smart. Hey, if you know about Roblox, please put it in the comments, because I don't know. Lyrics on here are pretty typical. You know, a lot of it's about their life as stars, about being famous, about people liking them all the time, just great head-nodding beat. Some sample lyrics, Michael Jackson, Pepsi, sippin', I'm hot-headed. It's like, you know, referencing like Michael Jackson, his head catching on fire. Kung Pao chicken eaten, but I got the space, so serve me up a side of the bread with the queso. Just nice, fun, interesting lyrics. There's no crime on here. There's not even too much bragging, really. There's some talk about money, but in general, the themes are just about themselves and their desire to succeed. So it's a great track. I really give you, I call it my homework, so have a listen to it. Let me know what you think. I'll go over the rest of the album fairly quickly. It's all basically in that mode of, if you listen to that beat, just how nice it is, how the drums come in eventually, and just it has that fullness and the sparseness. The first track is called Jabbar's House, a very bizarre opening, like this detuned voice and then a high-pitched voice at the same time, and then some interesting lyrics all the way throughout this song that seem to be a lot more introspective. I blame myself, who else can I blame? And then there's this whole line where the guy, Baby Boy, says, at 16, I feared my sexuality. At 18, I gave in. So I don't know. Questioning your sexuality, much less potentially being anything other than cisgender and straight, was completely unheard of in hip-hop until very, very, very recently. So even just this is that indication of the change in mores in our society, where you can have someone in a hyper-masculine genre, a heteronormative genre like hip-hop, and just say something while still being, the front person of a group, and just say, I feared my sexuality. What does that mean? What does it mean to fear your sexuality? I don't know. It's not my business, but it is interesting to observe how these things have evolved. This song ends with them waking up one of the members of the group, I think that guy Baby Boy, and all the way throughout the album there's all these little skits, which I like, but the skits very much remind me of like watching a YouTube video, like listening to a YouTube video but not seeing the image. A lot of the album feels like that. Next track is called You Good Brew, which I think is You Good Bro. This is a good example of something that they do where they use a lot of interesting choruses that are kind of dumb, like, head naughty choruses, don't you come out in the dark, don't you come out in the dark. These kind of repetitive, dumb choruses. But the rest of their stuff, the way they make their beats and the way they make their rhymes is so interesting. They can support all this kind of fluff, kind of like if you eat like a meal that's like really like healthy, Like you can have kind of a crappy dessert and you don't have to feel so bad about it, you know? Well, that's sort of what these kind of occasional dumb choruses are. Really cool, like another kind of like West Coast menacing beat. I really like Jody Fontaine of the two main rappers. I think he's maybe the best one. I just like his kind of quick delivery. The video, I just happened to watch the video for this, and it's just so goofy. It shows a lot of what makes them an endearing band. Like they're all wearing like leather jackets with like their names on them, and they're all like smoking cigarettes like it's 1955, and they're like rampaging all over town. It's actually a lot like the video Stress by Justice. They like rob a store and start a fight club, and then they go off and they do this whole military school, and it's all just kind of silly and fun. And it really does feel like a bunch of 20-year-olds just being like, are we artists? What could be a collective of artists? And there they go. The next track is called A Bitch Curious. My least favorite song on the album, but it's not terrible. It's kind of bouncy. There's a lot of singing on this album as well. The reason you can't just call it a straight hip-hop record is because there's just all these singing. There's all this singing. And the singing on here, what I like about it is it's strained and it's charismatic at the same time, which is one of my favorite styles of singing. It's not smooth. You feel the edges to it, but it's good. Next track is called A Message from Management, which is just like, I guess, the manager of the band trying to get them to wake up and go to the studio. Truth is maybe the catchiest song, a nice, again, rumbling West Coast bass. And this has these, like, one of these examples of a kind of a dumb chorus. Don't say in the dark, don't speak in the light what you speak in the dark. And they just say it over and over again. But they wait halfway through the song to bring in this kind of chanting group chorus. And I think that's part of the way the whole album feels, is it's a whole group. And you sort of need these moments because you get the sense there's like 30 people in this collective and they all have to be, speak in the light what you speak in the dark. And it's interesting because in the verse, they're sort of talking about a lifestyle that they don't like, trying to help other people get off the porch, and they have to help themselves get off the porch. This image of a porch as an obstacle or a source of inertia is quite interesting. And I like it very much. The next track is called Zane Lowe Alien Abductions, which I think is an actual quote from Zane Lowe talking about how great the band is, which, that's a pretty good stamp because Zane Lowe has pretty good taste. And in it, it's funny though, because it's sort of a meta commentary, and he's talking about the way that the band themselves are, and about how they're kind of on a different plane, and how they're very innovative, and how they remind him of leaders of the new school or souls of mischief with their group mentality. And I do think there is something to that in this group beyond their youthfulness, is this group mentality. And then at the end, he calls them and wakes them up. I think they sleep a lot. I think that's another theme on the album. Then Columbia, the track I already mentioned. Then NoHo is a great bouncy drum beat. Like you just kind of dance around, kind of like a weird like sample of a voice that's kind of like stunted. They make reference to Bay Bridge. I used to live in the Bay Area, in Oakland, so it is kind of nice hearing references to the Bay Bridge. Keeps talking about check the ground. Sorry, it sounds like someone's taking a shower upstairs. You're just going to hear that noise for the rest of the video. So you can see how many minutes are left, and if you're going to be someone who ducks out, just say in the comments. There's only one more song after this. This is a great example of the avant-garde production on the album, because at the end there's like this female rapper who comes on, and then this male rapper comes on with a kind of an agitating voice, and then there's a double tripling effect with the rhythms, where there's like a sound of like a keyboard, almost like a helicopter going da, 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 along with each word. You really have to listen to it to sort of understand what I'm even talking about. But it's that kind of production which pops up here and there on this fairly unassuming project, right? I mean, the album cover is like just someone with a bag over their head, and the name of the band isn't that great, and it was the last thing on Tidal, but it really is quite a discovery. It ends with a pop song, Hot Pink, just kind of weird double, tripled voice, kind of a nice 80s style song, just kind of talking about running wild and sipping on Fuji and living bougie. But it's just really nice, and again, we have that singer with the pop charisma. So I don't know. I don't know what lays ahead for this band. I don't know if they might blow up. I really think they might, because they have that thing, that infectious group spirit, that infectious youth, this ambition that's matched with a fair amount of talent and charisma to make it out. So I don't know. it goes to show, never just stop. Just keep scrolling until you find something. Okay, well, I'm going to now go for a nice walk with my wife around the block. So I will see you all over the weekend for the next of the 3 videos for next week. There's the camera.